A woman died on Zoom yoga, and nobody noticed. She fell from against the wall during the dolphin pose. We were all on mute, and nobody heard the thud. Her screen name read only iPad. I kept waiting for her to get back up, but she didn't. I'd been savoring a glass of Malbec and munching on sour cream and onion chips, and a few weeks after Zoom classes started, I stopped full screening the teacher and instead opted for a more entertaining gallery view where I could watch everyone struggle while I breezed through the peak pose challenge sequence. Not really. I was terrible at yoga. I ordered a mat online that says "fuck yoga." I drank wine and ate olives straight from the jar. Occasionally, I would paint my toenails in the forward fold and make funny faces at the people who couldn't see me back. Some days, I would just lay down on my fuck yoga mat and take a nap. iPad's camera adjusted, and there was her face again. No one could go that long without blinking. I threw on a robe, turned my camera on, and unmuted myself. By the third fiscal quarter of 2021, 3.3 trillion meeting minutes had been held on Zoom. While this is an incredible development in technology in terms of allowing hundreds of people to communicate all at once, it can also be damaging to the communication processes we have as humans. An article from the Wall Street Journal written by Betsy Morris in May of 2020 explains that Zoom is disrupting the typical social patterns we as humans have developed for survival. Morris goes on to explain that communication among humans requires synchrony, something that Zoom does not fully allow for when we look at things such as full body language and other forms of nonverbal communication. Without this synchrony, it is nearly impossible to know whether or not the people you're talking to on Zoom actually understand what you're trying to say. In the piece Zoom Yoga, written by Liza Monroy, our main character witnesses something traumatic on a Zoom call that is impossible to communicate over the platform. Zoom Yoga by Liza Monroy. Excuse me, does anyone here know that person? iPad? Can you hear me? Allie Mavis Maya Schumann came down from her own dolphin pose and approached the screen. Yoginis, please remember to keep yourselves muted throughout the entire practice, especially during challenging poses. I had been muted by the host. Now bring yourselves down. Use the wall if you're using it. Let the intensity of final postures fall away. I waved my arms around, trying to get anyone's attention. Rick Johnson or Dave Spitz or Carol's iPhone, but no one noticed me. Allie Mavis Maya Schumann put on our final relaxation music, instructing us to let everything go and focus only on breath. I pinned iPad, searching for any clues that might lead to her identity. As meditation music played, Allie's attention remained on her phone, and then she made a call. I could see her lips moving as she walked right out of frame. I Googled Allie Mavis Maya Schumann Yoga San Francisco, and I found her bio and photo. With a few clicks and keystrokes on Facebook, I found Allie Mavis Maya Schumann, international yoga instructor and Clear Channels coach. I messaged her and stared at the unread message while meditation music played on. Everyone lying there, blissed out in their savasanas, except for me, iPad, and Allie Mavis Maya Schumann, who was still nowhere to be seen. I'd seen a movie once about a woman in England who died in her apartment, and she wasn't found for 2 years. By then, she was a pile of bones, publicized for being unknown. But I've had one person knew about her. I felt like I had no choice but to try to locate iPad before she rotted in her apartment and her cat ate her face. She does have a cat, a big fluffy one that paces in her apartment during practices. What if iPad isn't dead, just paralyzed, and I could save her? Would that be worse? To be alive but paralyzed, trapped in your own body in a home, with the only person who knew about it being a stranger on a Zoom yoga call. Meditation music stopped, and my house fell silent. As class participants signed off, iPad's box grew bigger and bigger on my screen until the only 2 boxes left were hers and mine. Her face took up half of my screen, and her expression was one of amusement and wonder, as if to say, huh. So I fell and snapped my neck. Isn't life just unpredictable and strange? I had never seen a dead person so up close and personal before. And yet this was the same unreality that came with watching television. Allie Mavis Maya Schumann walked back in, still on the phone. I waved and shouted even though I know I was still on mute, and she, enthralled with her conversation, walked up and closed her laptop without even looking at it. iPad was gone, and so was I. My phone alerted me to a message from Allie Mavis Maya Schumann.
Oh no! I don't know what you think you saw, but I'm really sorry that you think you saw that. I don't know who it could have been. I have thousands of followers, and tonight's class was 92 of us. It's by donation, but not everybody Venmos. I'm sure everything is just fine. I'll see you next class. Namaste. AMVS.
I didn't see iPad in the next class, though. Or the one after that. I kept copy-pasting the meeting ID, taking every yoga class for the remainder of quarantine and through every phase of reopening. I didn't get any better at yoga. But almost every day, I still Google woman dead apartment San Francisco. Nothing resembling iPad ever comes up, or at least it hasn't yet. Sometimes I'll be on a Tinder date, in a restaurant, or at the park by my office, and I'll see someone with waxy skin and blue-gray eyes. Especially if they have a kind of vacant expression, I think maybe that's her. Maybe the whole thing really was, as Allie Mavis Maya Schumann implied, some kind of quarantine-induced delusion. I'll tell my date the story, pointing towards the woman, and say, maybe that's her. Is that her? Could that be her?